to a business anymore, it's just one of those structures that's there. This is an opportunity for us to be able to take buildings like Ardillo and put it on the ground and eliminate that blight. This is going to be a positive for the neighborhood. There's a lot of buildings that we happy to see are targeted by what we're doing. You'll be like, oh, that's wonderful. It's going to make a big difference in our neighborhood. And then there's some buildings that maybe some of you are going to be crazy about. Maybe it's your building, maybe it's a friend of yours. I just want you to know that, in my opinion, this project's a game changer for him. It's a major project. It's the border between the first and second district. Second district, in my opinion, is a district that needs a lot of work, rehabilitation. This is a $30 million project at the end of the day. $30 million. It's going to ease traffic congestion. It's going to ease air pollution. It's going to eliminate light. It's going to make traffic flow easier through your neck of the woods. But it's going to be somewhat controversial. I don't deny it. Now, I see you guys have all the maps in front of you. If you don't have them, we have them up here. We can get them to you. Okay? We have a lot of people that know a lot about this project, and we're all ears. All right? I'm very sensitive to the fact that some of you are adversely affected. But I think when you look at this, north of 1000, that whole area, north of 1000, that area is going to be protected by curb, basically, with only certain entry points, which, in my opinion, and I've talked to police officers who know a lot about this. I'm not a police officer. You limit people's ability. Let me grab that real quick, if I can. Okay. Let's say you live on a Grove or north of Boston, and I'm a bad guy, and I want to steal something from your garage. I can break into your garage, or I can break into your backyard, I can take what I want, I can jump on Grover, head down to Gosselin, take a right-hand turn in Illinois in 1 minute. And it gets much tougher for a Hammond police officer to go into Illinois and arrest people than it is for us to catch them here. We've done similar types of projects in other parts of the city and made it harder for the bad guys to get back to Illinois. I'll use one as an example, the state line curve. We've got student federal court for this project. You look at the crime stats now and compare them before we put up that curve, and it is night and day. You talk to the residents that live over there. It's night and day. That neighborhood is safe. Crime is still unfortunately there, but it's not even close to what it was before. Why? Because we're making it hard for the bad guys to get back home safely. This is the same type of philosophy we were using on this project. There's a North End Roads over there. It's a beautiful neighborhood. I know that neighborhood. I was just there for its opening day. Beautiful, strong neighborhood. It's things like that that we're doing. Traffic circles. You know, the backups coming during rush hour from Illinois over into Sheffield, over into Holman, and the school over, and the car sitting there idling. You're going to see that there's talk about a traffic circle going in there. Keep the flow moving so that you're not having those long backups. Then we're going to drop down over to Chicago Avenue. And we're going to make traffic flow easier from Chicago Avenue all the way over there, past Bishop, all the way to Chicago. That's where the project ends. So we're going to be talking about traffic circles. We're going to be talking about elimination of blight. We're going to be talking about safer, smoother transportation for the semi-traffic from Illinois to get through our city. And it's going to be a very expensive project. I'd say a safe estimate right now is a $30 million project. And we have about 2/3 of the funding lined up. So we're not even all the way home yet. We're not even set on exactly what's going to happen. But we're having discussions with you so that we can take your input and feed it back into our plan. All right? I'm willing to take questions, because this is not a hearing, but I'm an elected official, I'm your mayor. So if you have questions particularly to me, I'm willing to answer them right now. But at the same time, keep in mind that we have guys that know a lot more about this project than I do. They're going to speak to you in this couple seconds. Sir?
I asked Peter, I said, how come we don't come down Sheffield, Chicago Avenue West and keep going past the junkyard? He said, there's railroad tracks back there. I said, what about the railroad tracks on Sheffield Avenue?
Right.
She couldn't answer that one. Railroad tracks are railroad tracks.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Instead of making that curve on Sheffield,
Okay.
Chicago.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Dropping down from Boston over
Just keep going west where Sheffield and Chicago meet.
Okay.
Past the junkyard come out on Rainer.
Mayor, we'll actually talk about that in the alternatives. So we'll answer your questions.
Could you hold that also? And by the way, this is the first of many meetings. As you can tell, we're putting it on TV. We have a city website called Go Hammond TV. Everything that we film on TV is archived on there. This is filming live right now on Go Hammond TV, but it will be archived. So if you want to watch it again and again, you have that opportunity maybe we didn't answer something accurately during this meeting, or maybe we missed something during the meeting, and we'll actually get it afterwards. Including mayor's night outs, board of health person safety, city council meetings are all on going on TV, but this will be on there as well. So, I'm gonna turn it over again, yes, ma'am, do you have a question?
If you have, 2/3 of the money, where's the other third?
We're working on that right now. We're working on that right now, okay? We're talking to Senator Donnelly, I have a great relationship with him. Right now, it's 80-20 federal money coming in, so we're in a good spot right now, but we're pretty much tapped out up to the 2/3. We need to find that final number.
Then all this information costs a lot of money too.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this costs money now, but we have certain obligations we have to do, you know, because we want you to know what's going on. And if we are gonna take homes and take buildings, you have to know what's going on and what recourse you have. You know, in a lot of cases, the federal government hiring your building, it's not the worst thing in the world that's ever happened. I think you're gonna find that the prices are gonna be very, what's that? Yeah. This is a touch, it's not easy for me to sit there and say, you're gonna be happy with this. I imagine if I was sitting in here, my home was one of the ones with the X marked through it, I'd be very upset. Well, this one doesn't have the X, but. Sorry, there's no X on this one. But I think you can imagine if you're along Gosselin, coming from State Line, particularly the south side of Gosselin, heading down Sheffield over to Chicago Avenue, where it heads east from Chicago Avenue. I think that part in particular is where you're going to see a lot of the improvement being made. State Line, along Gosselin to Sheffield, Sheffield down to Chicago, and then that turn east heading towards East Chicago. That's where a lot of the blight elimination is. That's right there. Once you get on Chicago and head out to East Chicago, it's actually a pretty straight path. Fair statement?
Yeah, basically,
Most of the work is going to be in that little stretch right there.
yeah, most of the work is from Calumet over to State Line.
Thank you. Calumet over the state line. Right. Calumet on Chicago, north on Sheffield, west on Gosselin. If you're in that area over there, you're going to be more effective than if your home is fronting Chicago Avenue over by Bishop Knoll or over in that area over there. You're not going to be as effective in these parts. Okay? So the blight elimination is going to be in that stretch over there. And quite frankly, 85% of the buildings that we're looking at badly need to come down. 85% aren't even a question. The hard one is the last 15%.
Do you have a list of the buildings that are coming down?
At this point, I'm not sure.
Or houses, or?
I don't
I
myself.
want to know how much space you're taking up on this road, because you just don't take care of the one that you have now.
We don't have that problem in the state. We just took it over. We just took it over, actually. Literally just took it over. The accurate thing to be to say would be, the state didn't take care of it.
I'm the one that picks up Sheffield
I agree, sir.
and Chicago. I pick up all that steel.
Yes, sir, we sort of keep it on, right? One of the frustrating things about that stretch, why we decided it was probably in our best interest to take it from the state, is the state, in my opinion, wasn't doing their responsibility on patching, they wasn't doing their responsibility on painting, and they weren't doing their responsibility when it came to snowplowing. Now, a lot of people that live on, in this particular area, didn't realize it was the state that was supposed to be doing this for you. So we would get complaints about state right-of-way. So for us, it clears up ambiguity. We're just gonna take over maintenance responsibility on it right now. So, yes, ma'am.
I think it would be nice if somewhere in the plan there was, provisions on overtimes, because there's no street in Hammond that you want to stop by.
One of the things over in this area, I want to put on your radar, it's on my radar, because we're supposed to know what's going on 5 to 10 years in advance. If the South Shore expansion happens, and I want to tell you, not necessarily Hammond people pushing the South Shore expansion, it's Indianapolis people, our congressmen, they're pushing the South Shore expansion. In my opinion, you're going to see a train going from Hammond to Munster within the next decade. I would say I'm 85% certain within the next 10 years, there will be an extension from Hammond to Munster. Just that stretch. It's not going to Buffalo, it's not going to Lowell yet. You will see that stretch. And it's not being pushed by your mayor, it's being pushed by people higher up on the food chain than me. Now, what we have to keep in mind is to get back to the question, man. If that happens, that whole area, think about where the South Shore comes west and intersects with Mona. That's going to be where there's a massive train station in Hammondville. Where the South Shore intersects with the Mona, I don't convinced them, if the project goes forward, they're gonna build a massive train station. We're gonna get rid of the one on Gosselin and build basically a 2 or 3 story station that houses both lines coming through. So you can go to that one train station, you can go north-south, or you can go to Chicago, or you can go east. That's on our radar for sure. And this is a neighborhood that will be affected by it, in my opinion, in a positive way. That's a massive project we're talking about. It's gotta be a $30 million building. So that's something we have to keep in mind, man, because they're not gonna, Nicky, the South Shore, is not gonna let us impede their expansion. They want it just as bad as anybody. Okay? All right, I'm gonna take one more question. I think I saw one over here. Yes, sir.
That $30 million figure you put up.
That was an estimate, sir.
All right, estimate.
Yeah.
Okay, are you talking about construction of the road and purchasing property?
Oh, I'm sorry. I threw a couple figures out. I thought, so the $30 million price of the Gosselin Chicago Avenue project, the 312 project. Thank you. I put it in perspective. Did you ask the question again?
Yeah, is that money, is that total for purchasing property and the road?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Part of the reason, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Part of the reason, when we got the project, the way NDOT did it, it was sort of basic. It was very perfunctory. Exactly what needed to be done. And we looked at it, I sat with the councilman, and we basically said, how can we change this area? How can we make the border between the first and second district magnificent? What can we do to help improve the second district in particular? And we came up with this plan. And it's an aggressive plan. I'll be the first to acknowledge it. It's very aggressive. And for us, it's aggressive. We have to find, I think at the end of the day, though, I think you guys would be amazed and proud that we did this.
If there's cost overruns, who picks up that cost?
Oh, it'll be on us, sir. Right now, we got state money or federal money right now, the first 18 to 20. That was.
We have we have federal money, plus we have state money.
Right.
We've got enough match for the 18 million from the state. We've applied for an additional $9.5 million from NERC from the next highway bill.
We got friends in Washington now, besides Congressman Pete. I mean, Cook Donnelly and I got his cell phone number. We text each other. He's a great guy. He knows where Hammond is. He knows what Hammond's issues are. He just got back from, I think he was over in Syria, Pakistan, something like that. The guy's a major player in the world. He wants to help us. So the original project, we added on to it because we want to make it, I want to fix, in my opinion, a blighted area that's got problems. I don't want to call it a blighted area because there's beautiful parts in this area too. But there are issues, and I think all of us know that. We're trying to eliminate a lot of these issues. Because if we just did the road and we didn't take down our bill, and I hate to keep using our bill, I'm going to use it because I painted it. If we didn't do that right now, 30 years. Who knows how long it'll be before somebody came up with a use for that building. And every time somebody comes over to your house for Christmas dinner, every time you leave your house and have to drive past that building, you're going to be wondering what the heck is ever going to happen with that building. This is our opportunity to clean up our city. If we don't take advantage of it when we're doing a road project, there's not going to be a project like this that's coming along for decades maybe. So when you have an opportunity like this, I think it's incumbent upon this administration for us to try to help your neighborhood. And that's what we're trying to do. And I'm sorry if you're adversely affected or if you think you are. I just want you to know that I think this is going to be a magnificent project. And I think that most of the people that live in your area are going to enjoy it. But there will be some people that don't because they're going to be adversely affected. And I'm very aware of that, and I'm not making light of it. Now, when we first approached this, we said, okay, this is a hearing, we don't even have to take questions. And I said, well, that's true in theory, but I'm the mayor, and I can't really come in here and give you a 2-minute speech and then walk out. That's why I want to come in and explain this. We know that this is not easy, but our heart is in the right place. We want to fix this area, and it's going to cost some money to do it, and we're going to get the money as long as you support us and cooperate with us. We'll get this thing done, and it's going to be magnificent, I promise you. But that's why I wanted to turn up, I wanted to give you a little speech before we started, so you understand what we're talking about, okay? Yes, sir, one last question, sir.
What's to say though, the city just doesn't come down there, and the majority of the homes and businesses, hey, condemn, and pick them up for next to nothing.
Well, I don't want to do that to any of our residents, myself. I mean, I have to look at you guys in the face. I think for a congressman or a senator, it's easy to say, yeah, take those homes out. They never have to look you in the face like I am right now, okay? You know where to find me. This is where I work, okay? And I'm gonna be knocking on your door. And I just want you to know that we're here because, you know, we're not looking to do this, so.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about how the federal right-of-way process works. You'll be treated fairly, you'll be paid relocation costs, you'll be paid to help find a new home.
If your home is one of the ones that's affected, they don't even do that. I mean, if you wanna give me a heads up where you live, I can tell you.
I'm affected.
You're on Gotham?
4703 Henry, Chicago Avenue. Yeah.
There's some corner homes that are going to create better access, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll-
Why don't we take a look at the project, okay? And then understand what we're trying to do, what this is gonna do for your district, because I think that what you're gonna see is, it's gonna be an amazing border between the first and second district. It's gonna be an amazing area for potential expansion of economic development. It's gonna be safer, cleaner, but not without controversy, I acknowledge. So, thank you all very much.
Simply, when do you plan on starting this project? When?
We'll go over that as part of the presentation here.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking at building it in 2 or 3 phases. We're not gonna be able to build it all in one fell swoop.
What year?
Probably
Well,
2014 is the earliest phase.
So, here.
Or 2015.
Yeah, like I said.
Next year?
Well, I mean,
Oh,
it is construction 2014, third, we just need to figure it there. I mean, everybody should try to figure it out.
Well, I just want to know what year you
Sure.
plan on
Could you
starting.
please respect the process? I don't see anybody else figuring it out. Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Any work that's going on in construction this year has been planned for months and months. So even if we wanted to start this year, there's no way we could do it. Okay, we're way ahead of time, so you guys know what's going on in your neighborhood, so. Without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and pass the ball to Chris, so that she can come up and further explain the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, my name is Chris Meter. I'm with American Structure Point, and I know I've talked to some of you already. Glenn Campbell is our project manager on this project, and Brianna Hope, who actually couldn't be here today because she woke up this morning very ill. She's another environmental scientist that's working on this project, and we'll be your 3 main contacts for this project as we move forward. Real quickly, I want to go over the agenda. The purpose of the meeting today is really to introduce this project to the public and to get your input through this process. We also want to go over the project development process as the steps that we're going to take as we move forward. Glenn's going to go over the project description, the purpose and need, the proposed action, the alternatives that we're looking at, and then we'll be here after the meeting to go over the alternatives and to answer people's questions. Again, the purpose of the meeting today is to introduce this project to the public. At this stage in the project, it's very important that we get your input into the project, and so that's why we're here. Up here, we have a handout that explains the different alternatives that we're evaluating right now on the project, and we have that both in English and in Spanish. We also have pamphlets on relocation and acquisition. Those are only in English. If you need a Spanish version, do let me know and we'll work something out. We have pamphlets on what a roundabout is, and those are in English and Spanish. We have a comment sheet with all of my contact information on it. The email address for this project is gochicagostreet@structurepoint.com, and the website is gochicagostreet.com. So there is information on the website about the different alternatives that we're evaluating right now, and again, contact information there. So, and that website will be updated frequently as new information is available. So I encourage you to use that contact information. If you've got comments, reach out to me or Glenn and Brianna with those through one of either the website or email. Also, we are going to be establishing a community advisory committee, and that committee is going to consist of representatives of the neighborhood, whether it's from the Pulaski Park Neighborhood Association, churches, other neighborhood groups, Chamber of Commerce, just representatives of the neighborhood, and we would like to assemble that group so that we can discuss in detail with them different alternatives, and they can be a liaison back to the community to participate as we move forward in developing different alternatives. There is an application up here, both in English and Spanish. If you would like to apply to be on the Community Advisory Committee, please do take one of those. And again, I did say it's an application. We'll evaluate all the applications that we get. We'd like the committee to be somewhere in between 8 and 15 people, so we won't necessarily accept everyone's application because you do have to represent some group. But if you're interested, please do take an application, or you can talk to me after that. And that committee will meet most likely over the summer several times to review the alternatives and how we're developing the project. And again, the purpose of this meeting is to get your comments and questions. Again, I guess I just went over the Community Advisory Committee. So, in the website, probably in the fall, after we've gone through all the alternatives that we're evaluating right now, and we've selected a preferred alternative, we will be preparing the environmental document for this project, and at that point, we'll have a public hearing, and that will present the end results of the alternative analysis and the environmental document to the public. Again, we're not trying to have there be any surprises. So if everyone on the project should have received a mailing, if you didn't receive a letter and you'd like to be on the mailing list, make sure you sign up here tonight and check that you'd like to be on the mailing list, and you'll be added to the mailing list. So there will be mailings anytime there's a meeting, and we'll also have updates via the website. And with that, I will turn it over to Glenn, and he will start reviewing the project development process.
Thanks, Chris. The project development process, we will discuss the project history, go over the project schedule. In that, we'll break down the environmental process, plan development, property acquisition, and the construction. And then we'll discuss how that relates and other opportunities for public involvement. The mayor touched on it earlier. NDOT relinquished State Road 312 to the city of Hammond in 2011. The project was then added to NERC's long-range plan, which is critical. Any significant project such as this needs to be added. When we say NERC, that's the local MPO for this area, which represents Lake, Porter, and LaPorte counties. And so any project of this scale that is capacity expansion requires an analysis to be done. And in that analysis, we need to look at demand management techniques, transportation management and access techniques, ITS techniques, as well as what other opportunities are for transit and growth management. This project went through that process. It came out that although there's these other things that could be done, such as carpooling or using your telephone or sitting at home and doing your work from home. Those kind of things, even though we could promote those kind of things, or maybe there's some changes to NICD, we still aren't going to reduce all the congestion out there, and we're not going to improve the level of service enough for what the corridor needs to be in the long term. And we're not talking 5 years from now, we're not talking 20 years, we're looking at 30 plus years out from now. And then, so once that occurred, then the project was added to NERC-C's TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, in December 2011. And that's kind of, to be in that requires approval from NERC-C. You're added into NDOT's, the statewide Transportation Improvement Program. And that's what kind of got this project up and going, and the project funds are assigned to that. And like the mayor touched on, this project received some money under Safety Lieu, as well as, given the type of corridor it is, under the National Corridor Infrastructure Improvement Program. I know it's hard to see, but we kind of gave you guys some bars so you can see, and down below are the years. So we're sitting right here, this is May, we're right here, we're in this sector right here today under public involvement, right up in here. And that's where we want to get you guys involved. And you can see we still have a long way to go in public involvement to get ourselves to the end when we're talking right in here. We have begun some preliminary design, and you'll see some of the alternatives we've investigated today. You've probably seen our surveyors out there over the last year. You've seen some historic, maybe researchers out there and archaeologists out there, and all that work's being taken care of under this portion here in the Section 106 process. Once we complete that process, we'll begin the environmental assessment process, which will vet these alternatives, and we're looking for the most prudent and feasible alternative out there. A couple other things we have going on. We have utility coordination that's going on the entire project. Once we get to the end of the environmental assessment phase, we'll begin the final design phase, and that's at which time any property acquisition would begin. And a lot of people get scared when we say property acquisition. Everyone assumes that it's automatic condemnation, and that's not how it works. There's a right-of-way engineering phase where we will we'll engineer what parcel we need. We'll do an assessment of that. We'll appraise that property, and then there'll be a review appraisal done of that property, and then then the negotiation or the buying phase takes place. If you're not able to come to terms with the agreement at that time, that's when you hear about things going to condemnation at some time. If a resolution cannot be if we can't come to a resolution for what the acquisition offer was. So that schedule you see here, it's a very arduous schedule. It takes a long time, and this part here is the uncertain part. So we are looking at trying to get to construction in 2015, and again, that's really contingent upon what the phasing ends up being of the project itself, as well as how this last part goes here as to the property acquisition process. So why are we doing all these improvements? What's the importance of it? The mayor listed a number of things, but what we're going to look at is how are we going to improve safety out there? How are we managing or mitigating congestion? Improvements to mobility. We're going to look at the deteriorating infrastructure, and then the development of an east-west corridor. There are a number of safety issues along this corridor, especially those who live there. You should be very, very familiar with those. Right now, you see over 86 accidents per year on this corridor. That's a huge number for a 2-mile stretch. We have a lot of issues. One issue is here at the state line. We have substandard horizontal curves, requiring cars that are going 45 miles an hour over in Illinois to slow down to 25 miles an hour. And then the corridor itself is 35 miles an hour. Not only that, we have very, very wide lanes. So we see a lot of, when we do a review of the accident reports, we see a lot of cars trying to get around trucks and sideswiping trucks, for just one example. And a number of those have occurred actually here at the state line. We have substandard intersection turning radii. The mayor touched on that again with the a child that was struck by the rear of a semi-trailer. And we have a perfect example here of how the property damage that's sustained by trucks departing the roadway and traveling up onto the sidewalk that's out there. And that's just unacceptable. And it's very unsafe for any pedestrian standing near that corner. The lack of, again, designated turn lanes and lane configurations. We talk about the wide lanes. It's very hard. There's some lanes out there that are like 16, 18 feet wide. And how am I, a driver that says one center lane, supposed to know, is that 2-lane road or is that a 1-lane road? Did the stripe just wear off? Where are we at here? And so those kind of things have a big impact. Has a big impact on how people travel out there. Has a big impact on the safety itself. And then unrestricted access. There's a lot of driveways out there. Certain sections have more than others, but that has a big impact, again, on when people stop to make those turns, or they're looking for that house number, and then they see the house they're turning, they slam on their brakes to make that turn. There's a lot of rear-end accidents, and we'll see that here in 1 second. Again, I said there's 86 accidents a year out there. 63 of these are property damage only, and I don't know if you guys can read it from here, but this is the property damage pie chart here. 26% of the accidents we're talking about are rear-end collisions. Right angle, side swipes, and turning movement make up. So, probably 3/4 of that property damage that's sustained are really turning movement related accidents. Fatalities and injuries, again, we see the same thing. A lot of them are rear ends. You see those here. Right angle turns and side swipe and turning movement. Probably 80% of those accidents are just related to people making turns. And these occur at unrestricted access points, side streets, driveways, as well as major intersections. So we talked about we're looking to improve safety and get those numbers down. And we also need to look at how we're going to mitigate congestion. And we talked about that as part of the, I guess, to be a regionally significant project, we're looking at what the impact is on congestion. It's a big component of it. And we talked just a second ago about the different things we looked at, demand management, ITS, those things. Well, all those that come to play here as we look at what the volume to capacity ratio is. There's 20,000 vehicles that travel on this road a day. And we may say, okay, that's a lot. And sometimes it may not seem like a lot when we have 18 and 16-foot wide lanes. And that has a big impact on what the capacity ratio is. But that also, that begins to have an impact on safety. So you kind of see how these things are linked together. The other thing that affects congestion are the existing alignment itself. We have 2 points where we have 90-degree curves. We have the Chicago-Sheffield intersection where trucks are forced to slow down and stop, make that right turn. We also have the Sheffield-Goslin intersection. Not only are they forced to stop there and wait for the signal or wait for that, but they're also those trucks trying to maybe make a right turn. They're eastbound making that right turn. Again, we talk about the tight turning radii. Those trucks now encroach upon the other lane. So now that truck slows down, and all this just kind of snowballs. We have safety issues and we have this congestion issue together out there. And again, we talk about the signalized intersections. Sheffield-Goslin, great example. It's okay that things are signalized and we can move, but there's a better way to do things, and that's what we want to look at. How can we incorporate those improvements to make it a safe corridor? Mobility is one of the biggest things that the MPO is looking for as part of their comprehensive regional plan. How are we moving not just freight, but how are we moving people? There's no denying that this is a truck corridor. It's a heavy truck corridor up to Calumet. But as a truck corridor, it's important. It's very important to the regions, very important to interstate commerce, as well as regional commerce. But how do we, not only that, how do we move people, right? It's a community. Everyone's described it as a community. And how do we move people around that community? How do we move people that are non-motorized? How do we move pedestrians? Is there access? What's safe access? We have Washington Irving Elementary. Do we have safe access there? And making sure those kids are able to get across the street itself safe is important. And that contributes to the mobility itself. The infrastructure itself is in deplorable condition. The surface itself has been rated in poor condition. There are sections, especially for those who live on Goslin, where there is literally no curb anymore. It's totally gone. Sidewalks are missing, ADA. We don't have ADA compliant curb ramps. The underground infrastructure, I will actually quote the sewer department's comment, and it was that our sewers out there are in quote unquote critical condition. This isn't a video of this exact sewer, but that's what they are, guys. They're brick. But if this was your sewer, those bricks would be laying in the bottom of it, okay? The infrastructure out there is in horrible condition and needs replacing. It's just a matter of time before that fails. We talk about the need for an east-west corridor. This corridor is very critical. We talked about that to freight commerce, especially interstate commerce. There are only three main, truck or freight routes beginning at 94. You have 94 down here. You have the toll road comes up and into Chicago. I should really probably preface that there's probably four because you can count Calumet and Indianapolis where they come together there as a separate, even though it runs on the same corridor and parallels the toll road for part of the way. And then you have Chicago Street down here. This route here is critical to accessing any of the industrial complex over in this area here. And the state of Illinois is making a huge investment at the 130th and Brainerd intersection there at Torrance. And that will have a big impact on future mobility and the importance of this east-west corridor with, again, commerce coming back between the two states. So the real purpose of our project is, after all, we looked at all these needs, is to improve safety, reduce congestion, enhance mobility, and address the deteriorating infrastructure that's out there. So what are we proposing at looking at doing? Everyone has this, should have, if you picked up a pamphlet here, you should have this. We talked about the limits of our project itself is Goslin here is State Line or Brainerd Avenue on the far west side and White Oak Avenue here on the far east. We call it Chicago Street just because it's easier. It's a lot easier than saying Chicago and Sheffield and Goslin every single time. It's just a mouthful. So we'll just term it all our Chicago Street Corridor Project. And you'll see we're going to look at 4 different segments here. Segment 1 is going to be the Goslin section. Segment 2 is going to be the Sheffield section. And then 3 and 4 will be Chicago, near the existing alignment now. Alternatives that were looked at as part of this, we looked at the no-build option. We always need to look at that one. But are we really addressing the safety and congestion issues that are going to occur over the next 30-plus years? What other corridors can we do? We talked about that. We looked at, we have I-94 to the south. We have the toll road to the north. That's a long route for trucks and people to get around if we made no improvements on this corridor. What impact does the former, I guess it still is Klein Avenue, but the Klein Avenue corridor have on 41, 12, and 20? How are those? So we did look at those, and you saw that this is the only corridor that leads into that industrial campus. And one of the reasons is the existing land use that's out there. There's a lot of water bodies out there. There's existing railroad tracks out there. There's the Grand Calumet River out there. So all that stuff borders and kind of really tightens and limits the corridor we're able to make improvements in. And again, we would look at the 4 segments here, and then we did look at a bridge option. It was brought up earlier, and that option was explored. It's very, very expensive for that. The number of train tracks to go over, as well as the mayor mentioned earlier the proposed NICD improvements to the West Lake corridor require their structure to go over. So we would be at least 2 stories up, if not a 3rd story, to get over that system as well. So when we first look at our alternatives, we're going to look at 4 different alternatives on segment 1. If everyone has their sheet in front of you, it's the light blue one. Here we looked at. So this, we're going to look at Goslin Street from South Brainerd to Sheffield. We have 2 on-alignment improvements and 2 off-alignment improvements. The on-alignment improvement is, we're going to say it's shifted north, and this has a roundabout down at Sheffield and Goslin. The next one will be, it's going to shift north and then south. We're trying to kind of balance that one, and again, we used a roundabout, and we'll touch on why we use that here in a second. And then we looked at 2 off alignment. One is a turning roadway, and then the second is how do you incorporate the same with a roundabout option. The typical section for this section, we are looking at 2 travel lanes in each direction. We are looking for a center median in this section. Again, we talk about restricting and controlling access to the corridor. We talked about a lot of turning movements themselves result in a lot of accidents, and all those driveways out there themselves, that is unrestricted access and is a cause for accidents. And in addition to that, it also provides some beautification and a gateway to this corridor in Hammond. This is we would call alternate 1.1. It is, this is what we would call the shifted north with a roundabout at the end. Here you can see we come off Brainerd Avenue. with an improved horizontal curve. You can see the last road just really kinks right down in here. This has a nice swooping curve for 40-mile-an-hour travel, which is, again, this corridor here is 35, and it allows some extra, I guess, some safety factor in there. Again, just because, I want to be clear, just because something you see here is hatched, okay, does not mean that is a total acquisition or a structure acquisition, okay? A hatch to us just means that there's potential for significant acquisition there, okay? Doesn't mean a building would be acquired or a structure would be acquired. It just means that there's potential for significant, okay? I want to be clear on that. So you see that here. So a couple properties here with potential significant impact of acquisition. And then we talk about a roundabout down here. And again, and Chris will have a presentation a little bit later, which is great from Federal Highway, helps explain the benefits of roundabouts. These are great at reducing the severity of accidents at intersections, okay? They, you eliminate the kind of T-bone that we normally see out there, and will have a significant impact on the safety of these intersections. So that's one of the reasons why we chose the roundabout at this intersection. Another reason is mobility. We want that free flow of the corridor, okay? The more we can move trucks through this corridor, the easier we can move them through this corridor, the more we improve air quality, we reduce congestion, those kind of things. They also provide great safety benefit for pedestrians in the area. They're only having to cross traffic looking one way. And so that's why we ended up looking at the roundabout down in this corner here. You'll notice down here we are also, all the alternatives look at closing the existing railroad crossing at Brunswick with NICTE. This is, again, not set in stone, something we're looking at with them. Is it really needed? It's really an awkward crossing itself, given the existing alignment with Wabash as well as Brunswick. The next alternate here is 1.2, you see here. We sweep down from the north, and we try to balance that with can we find a happy medium between these two rights of way that are in there? And so we end up with an alternate that looks like this, with a kind of S-curve in there. And again, we chose the roundabout down here at this intersection for safety reasons. Alternate 1.3, and we will have, I should preface this, during the open house, we will have all these boards so you can look at them up close at your pleasure. Alternate 1.3, here we look at a turning roadway down here. From our standpoint, we did investigate it. We wanted to do the investigation in it. However, it's not really our, there are some other issues associated with it, that basically it's a completely free flow. No one's slowing down. There's very little need to slow down as you approach. And this type of intersection, we provide provisions if a vehicle stalled and those kind of things. But this here is a look at an off-alignment route. This also creates kind of consolidates the entrances at Dearborn to Clark, Grover, as well as Wabash Avenue, and kind of creates a neighborhood up in that area. The existing intersection here, or the new intersection of Goslin, would end up being signalized. Part of the reason is because the proximity are to the NICTE tracks and that preemption needed for safe crossing there. And alternate 1.4 is, again, this is similar to the other one we just looked at, but with a roundabout down at the intersection of Sheffield. Segment 2 is the Sheffield from Goslin to Chicago, and we looked at 3 alternates here. And I guess I should say, any of these boards, we can kind of mix and match how they fit together. So if we said, hey, we like alternate 1.4 on the first one, and we like alternate 2.1 on this one, or whatever it ends up being, we can kind of mix and match those to some degree. So here we looked at, again, a turning roadway, free flow with signal, and a free flow with roundabout. This section here, we are really looking at, based on kind of the existing land use that's out there, we didn't see a huge need for a center median to divide that. So we're proposing one travel lane each direction with a 2-way left turn lane to move that turning vehicle out of the travel lane, again, improving congestion, improving safety. Alternate 2.1 here, you see this is a turning roadway. It's very similar to what you have out here, except for the intersection of Chicago and Sheffield, where we have the turning roadway in there itself. This is a 2-lane turning roadway. So basically kind of it's providing some free flow, but not as much as we might get out of maybe a roundabout or another method. Alternate 2.2, here you see what we're saying a free flow, so we're eliminating this Sheffield-Chicago intersection. We are, in this one here, we would propose a signal at Holman Avenue, and we have some realignment to improve sight distances and better tie into the proposed curve that would be created with that realignment. Alternate 2.3, here we again have the free flow curve. We got rid of that intersection itself there. We do provide access to Sheffield off of that curve, and then the intersection of Holman and Chicago, again a roundabout. You shouldn't say, okay, we've seen a bunch of roundabouts and all these. Again, we talked about the safety benefits. We talked about the mobility. Again, the important thing is the way these are designed, it helps slow vehicles down as they approach. And again, the vehicle the video from Chris will I think, be a great benefit to those folks here. Segment 3 is the existing Chicago from Holman Avenue to Calumet Avenue. We looked at 2 alternates here. One was widening on the existing center line. The second is widening with curbs. This segment here, we are looking at just straight, pure 2 lanes each direction. No center median in this section right now. No 2-way left turn lane. However, we are looking at designated left turn lanes at certain intersections, particularly signalized intersections. This one here, this is on the existing. So this one here, we're taking the existing center line and we're just widening equally in both directions. The 3.2, we introduced some very large, they end up being small in length, but very large horizontal curves to try to miss as many of these houses as we can, and you end up getting alternate 3.2. And segment 4 is this segment here is the existing truck route on Chicago, the existing heavy truck route on Chicago Street from Calumet to White Oak. Here, it's already 4 lanes, so what do we really need to do in this segment here? So we looked at the alternates of resurfacing versus reconstruction. Typical section we'd be proposing here, we would be looking at, again, maintaining the 2 travel lanes in each direction. And then there are a couple spots where there's some on-street, people really park on the shoulders. I wouldn't call it on-street parking, but we would look to try to develop some defined on-street parking out there. A big segment in front of Washington Irving School, kind of down by Bishop, and those kind of areas you can see where people park today, and we would try to incorporate that. So that's alternate 4.1 and 4.2, and again, the only difference is one's resurfacing, one's reconstruction. So in a moment, we will open it up to the open house. We will place some boards out there. We will have a couple people at each spot that will be more than happy to answer any questions you have. If you want to have a question that becomes part of the public record, I would definitely suggest that you fill out one of those comment sheets. Email is a great way as well to provide a comment that we will include those type of comments that are written into the public record itself. So the information's here. As we continue, again, Chris mentioned that the CAC, we will establish a community advisory committee out of this. As we progress through the process, we will keep this information updated on the website itself, and that's for those who if your representative is not reporting back to you, shame on them, but at least gives you the opportunity to view that at your leisure. So I would definitely follow up and check back on that. Again, I just want to reemphasize there will be some other meetings coming up in the future, so please keep an eye out for those. We want your guys' input. This is your guys' corridor, and what can we do to make it safer? What can we do to improve mobility for you, not just truck traffic, but what can we do to make it better for walking and bicycling and make your kids feel safe out there? So with that, we will, some structure point folks will grab these boards, and we will place a couple boards actually on this bench here and that bench there, and then we will leave alternates. So alternates 1 will be here, so that will be the Goslin section. The Sheffield section will be there, and then we will leave all the Chicago, so alternates 3 and 4 will be up on this front board here. So again, I appreciate all of your time and attention today. What's that?
And the roundabout video will be
Oh.
on the screen over there.
Roundabout video over there. So thanks a lot. Appreciate your time.